Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Today is part 2 of my conversation with Barry Shuck from dogsbynature.com, breaking down the skill position players from the Senior Bowl. We got running backs, we got wide receivers, tight ends on this episode. A lot of great stuff. Great names that I know, some you'll be familiar with, some you might not. Some of these guys come to the Senior Bowl as kind of unnamed guys. People don't really know who they are, and they just flourish under the pressure and in the spotlight in Mobile. So it's really cool to see these guys come out and what they can do, at the Senior Bowl. The last episode was quarterback, so obviously I'm not even going to say if you're interested in that topic, because I know damn well you are interested in that topic. Go back, check it out if you missed it. It was good stuff. A lot of great names. And, Blake, he's been bringing it up for months now. The Browns need to draft 2 of these guys. Take a quarterback at 2 and then draft another guy, third round or whatever. And there were some names from the quarterback episode, Dylan Gabriel, anybody who could be a good option for that second drafted quarterback if the Browns decide to go that route. But today is the skill position players. Before we dive in, make sure you guys like the video on YouTube, tap the notification bell, and please subscribe to the channel. Help us continue to grow the platform. We appreciate everything you guys are doing. 5-star reviews on Spotify and Apple really help the show and all of that good stuff. And of course, jointhedogs.com if you want to become an official Dog Pack member and get into our Dog Pack community with all these other diehard Browns fans. These guys and gals are talking nonstop in draft season, free agency season. This is the time when the conversations are ramped up and you don't want to miss it. So get in there, jointhedogs.com. Now we'll kick it over to Mr. Barry Shuck. All right, so we talked quarterbacks. That was huge. Big topic for Browns fans, but let's get into something else that the Browns desperately need. We need a running game, like so bad. And this draft has to be the deepest draft class at running back that maybe I've ever seen, that I can even remember. It's insane how deep this class is. And a lot of these names that are coming out of the Senior Bowl were names that weren't even on like my top 10 guys to look for. Now that list has grown even more with some of these names out of the Senior Bowl. So who were the running backs that stood out to you at the Senior Bowl, and which ones would fit the Browns, in your opinion, pretty well?
2 interviews that were up. One is Jarquez Hunter from Auburn. He looks like a 5th rounder to me, but he's got a lot of speed. He's got 4.44 speed. Good kid, good blocker. Got really good hands. He's got excellent vision, and his instincts seem to be pretty consistent. He has a second year that he's popped through the first level before and then darted out to one side or the other, and he can explode through holes and hit that second level in a hurry. He's got lateral agility, and he runs with outstanding pad level and contact balance. I don't know if he would be a bell cow runner or more of a complimentary back the way Kareem Hunt was. The issue with the Browns this year is, what are they going to do with Nick Chubb? Are they going to re-sign him? And if they do re-sign him, is he going to be the same back that he was? Now, when he came back in week 9 this year, he had some moments, but he just didn't look like the Nick Chubb that's going to run you over, stiff arm you, gain 12 yards on any given play. He went down quickly. His yards after contact were horrible. And so I think what we need is for Nick Chubb to become the Kareem Hunt sidekick, and somebody else come and be that bad guy. I'm not sure type of a running back. He's more of a complimentary back. He's more of a receiving back, a guy that you would throw some little out passes to. Another guy that was at the Senior Bowl was R.J. Harvey. Now he looks like he could be the main back at any time. He's a shifty runner. He's got speed. He just looks like he's going to run you over. He doesn't look like a nice guy if you look at him in the face. He's only 5'9", 208, but he will plow through you. He doesn't have any inclination to dupe anybody at all. Had a great week in the Senior Bowl. I think he went from a fourth rounder to an easy third rounder, but he has got exceptional speed, and the acceleration from zero just pops off the chart. Let me see if I can find out what his 40 is. 4.41. It just amazed me that he is that thick and can accelerate that. He's got elite lateral quickness, and his jump cut ability just stands off the charts.
That's what we need. We've been talking about running back prospects for the Browns a lot in recent episodes, and we just keep going back to speed. We got to get some guys that can make plays, that can hit the home run, that got that vision, and then they can make that one cut and go. And Blake's been talking a lot about trying to create some sort of David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs dynamic, because that works out so well for the Lions. And a lot of teams are doing this thunder and lightning 1-2 punch type of thing with these running back by committee situations. And, the Browns, they kind of had that with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And if we get back to that Kevin Stefanski run game type of offense, I think we could deploy that sort of strategy very well if we had the right players.
Yeah. Now I'm going to give you a name. He wasn't at the Senior Bowl, but I'm going to give you a name. And this is who I would choose. We have the first pick in the second round. And if you don't get him at that point, by the time the third round comes around, he's not going to be there. Omarion, Hampton, North Carolina. This guy is an absolute beast. He is just a beast. 4.46 speed. You got to look at his stats. 1,660 yards this past year. 15 touchdowns, 281 attempts. The year before, he had 253 attempts, 1,504 yards, 15 touchdowns. This guy is an absolute workhorse. Over 3,000 yards in 2 years. He is used to running the ball and getting 25, 28 touches a game. He averaged 138.3 yards a game. 138.3 yards a game. You've got to Google him. You've got to look him up. We have the very first pick in the second round. We get this guy. This guy is an absolutely home run hitter. I can't say enough about it. He was a Doak Walker finalist. He is a violent finisher who consistently falls forward, got great yards after contact. He shows exceptional leg drive and core strength to push piles an extra 2-3 yards after he gets, the initial impact. And he's a great receiver. He's an exceptional blocker when held in the bat, but he's got an elite burst when hitting the hole. Omarion, Hampton, I'm telling, I don't know who we're going to take in the first round. If we trade Myles Garrett, maybe we'll have 2 picks in the first round. But the first pick in the second round, Omarion, Hampton.
I am glad you brought up his name. I'm high on Omarion Hampton. I've seen mock drafts where he's even sliding into the back end of the first round to a team. After Ashton Genty, I've seen a lot of analysts have Hampton as their consensus number 2 running back in this class. All the things that you talked about exactly is what I've heard about him, and he seems like the perfect fit for this offense, especially if you want to maximize the capabilities and the talents of a guy like Jerome Ford, where he cannot be your bell cow guy. He cannot be getting 20 touches a game, but if you get him strategically 10, 12 touches a game with a thumper, a bell cow guy like Hampton running the show, and then you use Ford in that complementary role to kind of be that change of pace and to do a couple different things with the offense, that could really work out well. So I am glad you brought up Hampton. He's definitely a guy that I'm pretty high on.
Yeah, and an exceptional pass protector. He has no problems with blitzing linebackers. or a defensive end going out and trying to handle it. He has no problem sticking his head in there. He's 220, so he's a very stout guy. Go to YouTube, look at some tape on him, look at some highlights of him. You will be shocked at just how much they've used him and how many yards he gets. Once somebody hits him, he's getting yardage just about 95% of the time. He's still getting yardage. And just an exceptional running back. But he's not going to last to the third round. We're fortunate that we'll go through the first round. Then we can have anybody we want with the first pick of the second round. And I've seen some mock drafts where he's top of the third, where the 67th pick, the third pick in the third round, he will be there for us. No, he won't. Once people start seeing his highlights, once people start that he's just excels in power schemes where he can build momentum. This deceptive speed that once he gets to the same level, he is just friggin' gone.
Yeah, I'm very excited about Omarion Hampton. I think he's going to be an excellent NFL running back, whoever is lucky enough to get him, and hopefully it's the Browns. You talk about him being more of a built, 220-pound running back, kind of a bruising guy. I wanted to ask you about somebody at the Senior Bowl who's not quite so big, not quite so bruising, but from what I heard from some other people who had a very good showing in Mobile, and I think his name is Brashard White. Brashard Smith from SMU. Brashard Smith.
I saw him. I don't have any notes on him. I didn't really pay attention to him. I know he's got speed. He's a smaller guy. He's under 200 pounds. But he runs a 4.41.
Gotcha.
But he looks like a fast kid. And they used him a lot coming out the hands. He's got natural hands. But I believe that he used to be a receiver when he was in high school. So him to have good hands a lot is just a natural thing from his receiver background. But I apologize. I don't have any notes on him.
That's okay. What I had been hearing about him was people comping him a little bit to the running style and the productivity in the NFL that we've seen recently from smaller backs like Kyron Williams with the Rams and Bucky Irving this past year with the Buccaneers. And I just thought that was an interesting name that could potentially be available later. If we do decide to take like an Omarion Hampton and then pair him up with a smaller, shiftier guy to offset some of that balance, I think Brashard Smith would be a good one potentially to keep an eye on. Yeah. But are there any other running backs specifically from the Senior Bowl that you wanted to dive into?
Getting back to him, I do show with my notes that he's a kick return guy. So he does have the experience and ability to find those lanes.
Okay. That's good information.
So that's a plus.
Yeah, absolutely.
No other backs other than that.
Okay, awesome. So that'll wrap up running backs. This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order, and that code can be used over and over, so you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now boarding Group A. Please have your boarding passes ready to scan. If your phone is cracked, old, or was chewed up by your Chihuahua travel companion, please refrain from holding up the line. and instead simply go to Verizon and trade in any phone in any condition from one of their top brands for the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus with Galaxy AI on Unlimited Ultimate and a watch or tab, also on them. Service plan required for watch or tab. Trade-in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Let's shift over to wide receivers. Obviously, the Browns, they seem to have found something pretty darn good with Jerry Jeudy. As long as that can continue to be what it was this past year and we get better quarterback play, that would be wonderful. But, Cedric Tillman had the concussion, so he missed the last basically half of the season, it felt like. And, he'll be a third-year guy still kind of working on the development, which after 2 years in the NFL, you're not fully there yet. It's a little bit concerning, but doesn't mean it can't happen. And after that, the Browns are kind of short right now at the wide receiver department. We'll see what they do in free agency and all that kind of stuff. But wide receivers at the Senior Bowl who stood out to you that you think would be good fits with the Cleveland Browns, who is the first guy you want to discuss?
I would say Jalen Royals from Utah State. He's not a tall guy, 6 foot on the nose, real slender, 205. But he runs a 4.38 in the 40. He had a great week. He had great hands, and he just seemed to catch everything that was thrown to him. I was able to talk to him, and he seems like a nice kid, well spoken. He's got, as far as his route tree and going downfield, seem to have good moves. He would use a double head fake that I've never seen before, but he's got track speed, and that pretty much translates onto the field because of his speed. And he seemed to consistently stack the corners vertically and create really good separation, especially on the route.
Okay. Jalen Royals is another guy that I've heard a lot about, and it seems like he did absolutely nothing to hurt his stock whatsoever at the Senior Bowl. I think he helped himself quite a bit. And there's another Jalen, while we're on that name, that I wanted to ask you about, and it's Jalen Noel, I believe from Iowa State.
I don't have any notes on him.
Okay. Jalen Noel is just a guy that I've been listening to some things about, and I didn't take a whole lot of notes either, but I had one scout said that he was the best wide receiver at the Senior Bowl, and just a guy that could be in that late second, maybe third round area, depending on how things go throughout the rest of the draft season, but a guy that could come in and immediately contribute to an NFL offense. But who is the next wide receiver then from the Senior Bowl that you want to talk about?
Let's do Tez Johnson.
Okay,
now,
let's do it.
If you stand next to Tez Johnson, he plays for Oregon. If you stand next to him, you would think he was a soccer player. You would think he was just a track star. He's not tall. He doesn't have any meat on him. He's only 165 pounds, but he runs a 4.33 in the 40. Let that digest a minute. He caught everything thrown to him. And not only that, at some point, I was near a scout and I asked him about him. He said, I don't think anybody's covered him since he's been here. He's got great acceleration, and he accelerates, and it looks like he's just jogging, and then all of a sudden he's in full speed really quickly. What that does is that creates a significant edge over the defenders that's trying to guard him. He's got really good body control, and he's made a lot of catches that are on bad balls. So he's able to contort his body or adjust his body. And what they used him for a lot was back shoulder throws. But his elite speed is what really makes him stand out. Do you know the story about him and Bo Nix?
No, I don't.
So when Tez Johnson was 15, his father committed suicide. His mother struggled with having siblings. And Bo Nix was Johnson's high school football coach. They took him in for a week then that became a month, and that became 6 months. And after a while, they adopted him.
Oh.
So he became Bo Nix's stepbrother, and they won a state championship when Bo was a senior and Tez was a junior. Bo went to Auburn, Tez went to Troy, and then they both went in the transfer portal and both ended up at Oregon playing again together. And so now Bo is at Denver, and, you know, there's a lot of speculation will the Broncos draft him. I think he's a third-round pick. He's one of those real small guys that are really, really quick and can run well, and his route running is just exceptional. I mean, he's just a precise route runner. He's got a lot of routes in his route tree. He's able to create separation. If you want to do Tez Johnson highlights on YouTube or Tez Johnson Senior Bowl highlights on YouTube, he's like wide open most of the time when he does his breaks because everybody fights on his fakes. Everybody. And he'll have double and triple fakes. He'll have fakes that are at one level, then he'll go to another level and have another fake. His hands are excellent. And one thing that impressed me about him was his ability to be able to track the ball once it's in the air. You see him taking his route and breaking off from it because the ball's not going where he's going. So he's adjusting him to go where the ball is. I thought that was mature for a pass catcher coming out of college. Precise route runner, great body control. Now his yards after contact aren't that great because if you get a hand on him, he'll go down. But the trick is not to be caught, to be able to be in an area where you can be tackled. But I think he'd be an exceptional guy to bring in. He'd be a slot guy, but Victor Cruz was a small guy like that could run good routes. You know, the league is full of guys like that. Danny Amendola.
Yeah, and another name, everything you're talking to me about, Tez Johnson, just makes me really think about Tank Dell and the way that, you know, his stature, I think he was like, what Tank Dell's probably the same, about 5'9", 165, like small guy, but you can't cover him. And a lot of people question, well, is this even going to work in the NFL? And obviously he's had some injuries now and all that kind of stuff, which is what people were worried about. But when healthy, damn, the dude can play.
Yeah. Yeah. Years and years ago, I met Don Maynard, who's in the Hall of Fame. He played for the New York Jets. And I asked him what his ability was. He said, my ability was not to be tackled. He said, that was my whole game plan, was not to be tackled. Because he was 6 foot, 170 pounds. Even when I met him, he was still a scrawny guy, you know, from Texas. He said, what I didn't want was to be tackled. So I ran my routes and I used my speed and I used my body so that I could either go out of bounds or that I could be in the open to where I could run a lot and try not to be tackled. And so, and if you notice, like Russell Wilson's not a big guy. He runs out of bounds a lot. He slides a lot. He doesn't get tackled except being sacked. He doesn't tackle because he knows his body can't take the beating. And so like Tank Dell and Tez Johnson, I think they use the sideline a lot. I think they use the turf a lot because they know once you get a hold of him, they're not going to fight. They're not going to gain a bunch of yardage. They're going to go down. They're going to get tackled. But you got to use your speed first. And this guy's got lightning speed.
Yeah, I think the king, in my mind, of doing that type of thing right now in the NFL, and he's been around forever, feels like, is Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett has that speed, the route running, and when he's about to get hit, he doesn't get hit. He goes right down and gets up to play another down, and he's talked about that. I know he said, hey, listen, I want my career to last as long as possible. I'm not out here taking hits from these guys because he's only, 5'9". He's not a big dude either, so that is definitely how you know, when you're a smaller stature, you know, player in the NFL, go down, avoid the hits and extend your career. So yeah, I definitely think I think these guys can hit, and I've been excited about what I've heard about Tez Johnson.
Yeah, I think third round will be about the and either early or late, but that would be a good pickup.
Okay, cool. So let's move on from the smaller stature, Tez Johnson. I'm going to lead you into a bigger dude here that I know you were commenting on in your diary, and a guy that anybody who watched the Senior Bowl knows who he is because he won the MVP, and that is Jack Bech.
No, I don't have any notes on him at all.
Oh, okay.
I know he was MVP, but I didn't cover him. I didn't really take notes on him.
Gotcha. So well, let me just run through it real quick. I believe, from what I understand, started career at LSU, was kind of used in the tight end role because he's a bigger guy, and then I think he shaved off some weight. They said he came in the Senior Bowl, and people were thinking, is he going to be like in between 230 and 240, and he weighed in under 220, or maybe it was even 210. And definitely slimmed down to play that wide receiver. He's played in the slot. He's played on the perimeter. And everybody I've listened to about Jack Bech just says he is a straight up dog. He's got such a fighter mentality. And he had just recently lost his brother in that unfortunate situation down in, I think it was New Orleans. Maybe it was, what was it, a month or 2 weeks or something like that before the Senior Bowl. So teams didn't even know if he was going to come or participate, but he did, and showed out, won the MVP, and really looks like he is slotted to go, I don't know, probably third round in the NFL draft, and could be a big asset to an NFL team. He's a big guy. He's a big kid.
Yeah. I do have some notes on him, Josh. Okay. I apologize for that.
You're good, man.
Yeah, I wrote, he's got good body control, and he worked the sidelines real well. He's not as fast as you would hope for. He runs a 4.55, but he's a bigger guy. He's got functional play strength to box out defenders, and also right in here that he won in traffic quite a bit. His hands were just natural ball skills. He excelled in contested catches, especially at the catch point. He's able to jump. He's able to understand where the catch point is. And another thing I wrote down here is that he's a savvy route runner. And he kind of figured out how to set up his defenders and find soft spots in zone coverage. He was the MVP of the Senior Bowl. He didn't practice well on most days, but the days that he did, and he shined, you could tell that he was going to be an exceptional guy. He's only 6'2", so it's not like he's got tremendous height to him. Might be a slot guy because he doesn't weigh a whole lot. He's kind of a plus size frame, but he did show willingness to block downfield after somebody caught the ball, and he was versatile enough to play on the outside and also play in the slot.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of the same stuff I've been hearing about Bech, and that is good stuff. I'm glad that you did find your notes on that. Were there any other wide receivers that you want to talk about before we transition into another position that the Browns desperately need, which is tight end? But we'll hang out in wide receivers as long as you've got some guys to talk about.
No, that all I had. That was all the interviews that I had.
This episode is brought to you by Bodden Sports. Browns fans, Bodden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Bodden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Bodden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Bodden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Bodden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Bodden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing, and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard games section of Bodden's website, where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Baden Sports, BADEN sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BadenSports.com/dogs. I want to get your takeaways from the tight end group at the Senior Bowl, because the Browns, man, we have been needing tight end help for a while. You know, Kenny Mack from the Ottawa Browns backers, he has been for years now, it seems like, at least the last 2 seasons, he's been pounding the table every draft season. Get us some tight end help. And David Njoku's great, obviously, but he's also getting older now. He's closing in on 30, I believe, and he misses time. He's oft injured, not for big stretches, but games here and there. We do need tight end help, and I feel like this is a deep tight end class. And there were some guys at the Senior Bowl that I've been hearing about that really stood out. And the first one I wanted to ask you about is the guy that's kind of at the top of my draft board if the Browns take the position early, and it would be Elijah Arroyo from Miami. And you could kind of pair up David Njoku, Arroyo, 2 Miami guys. What do you think about him?
Well, that would be tremendous if we had, 2 guys from the same, not only the same position, but from the same school. He lit up the Senior Bowl. He was every day he had a good practice session. I would have to say that he was the best guy at the Senior Bowl. He's a big kid too. I think he's close to 200, and not fast, but he's got good blocking skills. But he's got a prototypical, like a Y tight end frame, and he's got a catch radius that is 7 feet. You can believe that. So he presents a mismatched nightmare for linebackers and safeties, especially in the red zone. If we could develop an alley-oop, which I did an article on David Njoku, we should alley-oop with him, and we're still not doing it. But Arroyo's got above average straight line speed, but we don't need tight ends to be fast. But he does demonstrate the ability to stretch the seam and challenge defenses vertically. I thought he was the best tight end at the Senior Bowl.
Whenever I was doing a lot of my Cam Ward film and watching the Miami games and things like that, it was, I was watching Cam Ward, and then I knew of Xavier Restrepo, who was a wide receiver there at the Senior Bowl, but as far as I understood, did not have the best showing at the Senior Bowl for him. And there were some things on tape in some of the games that I was like, yeah, this kid is good, but I didn't really see it. But another guy that just popped off the screen when I was watching Cam Ward was Elijah Arroyo. And I feel like this guy has really come on strong and could be a big asset for definitely a tight end needy team like the Browns in the NFL.
Yeah, he's a good blocker too. He's not. I assume they're going to try to get back to being a run first team, or at least the majority of their snaps. But he would be a great player to pick up in the 3rd round. I've got 2 other tight ends that I did interviews with and got good notes on. This Terrance Ferguson from Oregon. This is a real big kid, 6'5", 255. He's slow as Christmas. You don't need your running your tight ends to be that fast. Got huge hands. Very, very high IQ guy. Offense. He earned first team All-3, but I was really impressed with him. He just looks athletic. He looks like a basketball player. He's cut. Even though he's 255, he's cut. He's got the prototypical size for the position, but not that he's just cut. He's lean. He's got an impressive acceleration off the line, and he uses his body to shield defenders really well. He knows how to use his body. He takes long strides on his routes. He can, as far as his route running goes, he's an adept route runner. I'd have to explain on that. Got great body control and flexibility to adjust to the off-target throws. With his wingspan being so wide, he's got reliable hands, and he's got such a reach. I'd put him in the red zone and just pop the ball up there and let him go for it. I think he's a vertical player that could line up in line. He could line up in the slot, or you could sit him out wide as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I've heard about him, and a lot of it was from reading your articles. So it sounds like he was the guy who stood out to you. And who was the second one that you wanted to talk about here?
The other guy was Harold Fannin. Fannin, excuse me. He played for Bowling Green. He grew up in Bowling Green, and I asked him, I said, the path you'll never get out of the state of Ohio with you. He said, that's all right with me. He said, I love Ohio. He said, I'm happy there. He's 6'4", 230, so he's not as meaty as some of these other guys, but he's still got good blocking skills. This is a phenomenal receiver. He's got a sudden burst off the line, and he's got the long speed to be able to stack defenders vertically. He consistently won on isolation routes, especially if it was in zone coverage with zone droppers. I saw one scouting report that said that he had vacuum hands. I asked him about that. I said, somebody said you had vacuum hands. He said, I'll take that. He said, if that's the description of me, but this dude catches everything. You just throw it near him and he's going to throw it. He's going to catch it. His ball tracking skills, once it's in the air, he's already going to where the ball is. He breaks off his route. So it's not like he's got to stay in an area. He goes to where the ball is. He showed consistent technique and was able to pluck balls out of the air and even take the ball away from defenders. He used his body well against linebackers because the linebacker, pound for pound, near or about the same weight and have the same amount of power or push on, but he was able to work on that. Yards after contact, this guy will pick up yardage. He'll drag guys. He's looking to gain yards. He's not looking to go out of bounds. He's got advanced seam work, and he's got, I would say he's more like a Swiss Army because he's got potential from multiple alignments. He can, same thing, he can work close into the line. He can be kept in as a blocker. He can go out in space and catch the ball, or he can just pop out and be a blocker.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of hype about Harold Fannin Jr. and some of the stuff I'd been hearing from other people who were at the Senior Bowl. Some people were just kind of questioning and kind of like you did at the beginning, his size. Is he an every down type of tight end in the NFL, or is he going to be more relegated to receiving role, that type of thing? But it's good to hear that you thought, he was a decent blocker and everything like that. So, and maybe once you get into an NFL weight training program, he can put on a little bit of muscle and mass too. So, but it sounds like from everything I've heard,
usually does it.
Okay. Yep. It sounds like he showed out pretty well. So any other tight end prospects from the Senior Bowl that stood out to you?
No, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Well, that'll kind of wrap up our skill position discussion, running backs, wide receiver, tight end. Go back and check out the different names we talked about if you missed any of them. And when we come back, we will discuss the offensive line. Okay, so is everybody sold on Omarion Hampton like I am? Because honestly, I was high on the kid coming into this conversation, but hearing Barry break it down just makes me think, I know Blake, we've been talking about the Ohio State boys, the Buckeye guys, the Travion Henderson, the Quinshon Judkins, but man, Omarion Hampton could be that dude. He's the real one. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Drop it in there. We talked those receivers and tight ends as well. Who would be great fits for the Browns and why? We'd love to hear from you guys. So let us know. We'll wrap this one up. Make sure you guys like the video, tap the notification bell, and subscribe on YouTube. 5-star reviews on the audio platforms are awesome. You guys know the deal. You rock. And we'll be back on the next one, breaking down the offensive line prospects from the Senior Bowl, and cannot wait to bring that one to you guys on the next one.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now boarding Group A. Please have your boarding passes ready to scan. If your phone is cracked, old, or was chewed up by your Chihuahua travel companion, please refrain from holding up the line. And instead, simply go to Verizon and trade in any phone in any condition from one of their top brands for the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus with Galaxy AI on Unlimited Ultimate and Watch or Tap, also on them. Service plan required for Watch or Tap. Trade in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.